Think of it for you and for Texas and for so many other places. They want to get rid of your energy. I mean, explain that one. Explain that. Yet every major Democrat running for president, they want to abolish all production of oil and natural gas. In other words, the Democrats want to completely annihilate New Mexico's economy.
That was President Trump in New Mexico last night, touting America's energy independence under his administration. Joining us now, NBC News correspondent Cal Perry. He recently returned from West Texas, where he's reporting on America's energy boom. Cal, what did you find out in the context of these new developments?
So this is another note that the president is using in these rallies, and we see it on social. We have a tweet yesterday after the sort of devolution of the Middle East. We went to West Texas. The most productive oil field now in the world is in West Texas, to find out how the U.S. is going to surpass Saudi Arabia as the #1 exporter of oil. And what we found out is, as is usually the case with this president, he's only telling part of the story. This is what it looks like to be #1.
The United States has tremendous wealth. The wealth is under its feet. We are now the #1 energy producer in the world.
And this is what that smells like.
I guess it's a little rotten egg smell. It's really putrid and horrible, and you can't breathe.
Makes you dizzy. It's making me dizzy.
Yeah, it will affect your eyes, it will give you a headache, and it can kill you.
People report the rotten egg smell, which would be the hydrogen sulfide part. If you smell it, you should move away.
Some residents of the Permian Basin are already moving away, citing health concerns, including Sue and Jim Franklin.
So why did you move to Fort Davis?
To get away from the wells, all the stink and the stench and the smell and all that.
That smell is the toxic air being emitted from the energy platforms through a process called flaring, burning the natural gas off, as well as sites that are just leaking. Some say this dystopian landscape is slowly poisoning West Texas.
It was a situation down in the area where we were. A lot of the gas and oil wells were leaking, and Sue got very sick from fumes.
So this is what they were living.
Right, surrounded. They were surrounded. And the tanks are venting a profuse amount. This flare is just blasting hydrocarbon gases into the air.
Sharon Wilson is a certified optical gas imaging thermographer and part of the environmental group Earthworks. Simply put, she takes a $100,000 infrared camera around the country to monitor methane and other emissions.
These emissions are invisible to the naked eye. If the public could see this, there would be no fracking boom.
The air pollutant sulfur dioxide in the Permian Basin exceeds nationally mandated standards. And a recent study found that methane trapped heat at a rate more than 80 times that of CO2, accounting for a quarter of current global warming. But this is Texas, a state where the energy companies tell the regulators how much they are polluting.
But when they flare that gas, when they burn that off, it releases a lot of sulfur dioxide, this dangerous pollutant. We've got this massive air quality problem in the Permian Basin, and the state of Texas and the EPA are just not monitoring out there. And the reason they're not monitoring is because their formulas are dependent on population.
The Permian Basin is 86,000 square miles. It extends from Texas into New Mexico. Put another way, it's bigger than the state of Kansas. There's only one functioning sulfur dioxide air monitor in the entire Texas portion. It's right here in Big Spring. One of the two state regulators in charge, the TCEQ, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, declined to be interviewed on camera for this story. But the agency that oversees oil and gas permits here, the Texas Railroad Commission, did sit down with us.
Well, if you are an American out there and you say, look, energy costs are a big deal to me, that when I'm filling my gas tank up or I'm paying the electricity bill, energy prices are one of the big things that hit into my budget. Well, if I don't let people flare, then the cost of developing energy goes up dramatically.
It's the most profitable oil field in the world, changing economics for the entire country. But at the same time, it's incredibly wasteful. More gas is flared off here into the air than it would take to power all the residential houses in Texas.
it's very important, I think, for consumers to understand that any energy source produced at scale is going to have an environmental impact. And so that's a factor that needs to be a part of the conversation.
I want everybody to see this. So the oil and gas industry has been lying to the public for over a decade. They're saying that natural gas is a clean energy. You can see it's not. And until they stop expanding and drastically reduce their emissions, we will keep on this rapid warming trend.
All right, so everyone involved in this can go into two categories: those who want to engage with the public on it and those who do not. Those who do not include the TCEQ, who should be looking out for people's health in Texas. Those who do, like Ryan Sitton from the Railroad Commission and Shell, in discussions with them about this package, they gave us this statement, and I'll read you sort of the back half of it. Despite the administration's proposal to no longer regulate methane, that was something that happened 2 weeks ago. Trump just dumped those regulations. Shell's U.S. assets will continue to contribute to that global target. While the law may change in this instance, our environmental commitments will stand. So a truly bizarre place here where big oil is more environmentally cautious.
Yeah.
Conscious.
Well, you couldn't get many people to come on camera for that. There's another layer to this. The Secretary of Energy in the United States is the former governor of the state of Texas, Rick Perry. So it doesn't strike me, he doesn't strike me as someone who's willing to do a lot about this.
No, or who knows what he's doing. That's not at all sort of clear to me based on everything that he's sort of said in the past. I think the other thing here when we talk about energy independence, it's so much more than just the ability to not go to war, right? If you're truly energy independent and you're willing to pay such a high cost either on people's health or the environment, it should go beyond not going to war. We should be able to say to Saudi Arabia, improve your human rights record. Stop doing what you're doing in Yemen.
So the companies are saying, well, look, it will cost too much if we stop these emissions.
Right.
How accurate is that claim? Is there a better balance that could be struck between cheap energy and the environment?
Yeah, so part of this is infrastructure. They'll say the pipelines don't exist. If we had the ability to store the natural gas, we wouldn't need to flare it. That's partly true. A lot of this is about deregulations or the absence of regulations. The Obama administration had regulations that were supposed to kick in right about now. Trump removed those regulations. He lowered methane emissions, which again allows us to flare this natural gas so that we can export oil. It's about excess. It's not about our energy needs.
Such a fascinating report. I'm glad you shined a light on it. NBC's Cal Perry. Thanks, Cal. Good to see you. Coming up.